Hey everyone, welcome to Photo News and Reviews. Today I want to talk to you about a product which, whilst it isn't brand new to the market, it does represent a completely different direction in the way photography is undertaken and the technology that sits within your camera. It's the Lytro. Okay, so these have actually been out on the market for quite a while in the States. They only just came out in Australia about a month ago, and I was lucky enough to have a photo walk whilst I was in Cologne, Germany for Photokina with the Lytro and the organizers to see this one. So whilst this is just giving you my overall thoughts, I have been using it for a couple of months now on and off to play with it and really get accustomed with it. So there is a fair bit of hands-on time behind my thoughts. So first of all, unboxing it, it's a very Apple-like experience with a nice white box, minimalist packaging. This is the camera itself, very, very minimalist. A tiny little instruction manual, and then underneath you've got your USB cable and that kind of thing. Now, why I'm not including images in this is because, well, it doesn't give you standard JPEGs. Okay, where to even begin with this thing? Well, let's first of all take a look around the actual body. So it's a really minimalist construction. It's just a kind of a powder-coated metal body with a rubberized grip at the back, an on-off button on the bottom, a USB port as well, a small screen on the back, and then the shooting button on top. Now hidden, there's also a line of raised ridges along behind the button, and that's what you use to control the zoom. Surprisingly, this little guy actually has an f2 lens in it with an 8-time optical zoom, and it's a constant f2 throughout that range. Now, what's different about this one, and I have to warn you, even though I've used this, I'm going to be using terms here that I still don't, on an intellectual level, really get. It uses a micro array and a set of mirrors in there which somehow capture the light field. Now, what that means is your normal camera captures things as, a flat image, even though, we can get a sense of depth by the shadows and how things close to us are bigger and further away are smaller. This actually captures the direction of all of the light in the scene. So if it's passing through on whatever angle, this captures all of that. And what that means is you can actually focus after you've taken the shot. So you just walk around haphazardly snapping the button, get your composition right, and it's a square format which you'll either love or find challenging, and you don't need to worry about focusing it at all. You can focus it if you want, but you don't need to, because when you get the files, you're then able to click in any place on the image as long as it's within the focusable range based on the optics of the lens, and you'll be able to pull it into focus, and it remains at that f2.0 status. So if you're shooting something quite close, then middle ground, then 3/4 back, and then back of the scene, you'll be able to click on each of those things and effectively blur out what's in front or behind of it, even though that information's still there to refocus it again if you want to. So it's pretty cool. Let me run through some of the specs. It comes in, at the moment, 5 different colors. This is graphite. There's blue, green, and pink. They're all the 8GB versions. And then there's a red one, which is 16GB. And that translates to about 350 living pictures, they call them, on this guy, or 750 on the 16GB version. It weighs 214 grams. It's light, but for its size, it does feel dense and quite strong. As I said, it's an 8-time optical f2 lens. The back screen is 1.52 inch, so that is something, and I'll get to that. ISO range is 80 to 3200. Shutter speed is 2/50th of a second, is the fastest, and then the maximum is 8 full seconds, so not a huge range there. It's got a built-in lithium battery, and something I don't understand at all, but the light field resolution is 11 megarays. So that sounds like a science fiction reference, I don't know. So it is anodized aluminium skin, silicon rubber, micro USB, yada yada yada. So you charge and transfer and update firmware via the micro USB. And one cool thing, I got the distinct impression from the organizers of this company that they're making them fully forward compatible. So then when they do increase and introduce new features and that kind of thing, it'll be firmware updatable, not just redundant, and version 2 and version 3 and version 4 are going to be just sitting around the corner that you're forced to upgrade to. Now, the practicality of using this is, it's an interesting one. It is like having a CCTV camera in your hand. If you like to take candid shots of people on the street and, you know, the square format works for you, or you can work with it, you can get shots with this without drawing attention to yourself that you just can't get even with a point and shoot camera, because people don't recognize this as a camera. Now, I'm not, you know, going to go into the difficult terrain of, you know, if you should be shooting people when they don't know about it. But I found walking around with the screen up in front of myself, not hiding that I was doing something, I didn't get the typical reaction that you get sometimes of people not wanting to be seen on camera. So that was pretty cool and quite liberating. And it is, well, first of all, when you first play with it, it is a novelty. The fact that, oh wow, I really can refocus this. The later reality of, okay, but then the way I'm able to share the files is via, you know, an online interactive thing. It doesn't just give you a JPEG where you can do that, is a little bit trickier. I do think that if you're, you know, an early adopter of technology and you want to try the latest and what the new generation stuff is, that you'll really, really enjoy playing with this. For how long and for what application is going to depend a lot on what you're into. And if you are one of those early adopters, you may already have this. As I said, it's been out for a little while in other countries. And look, I got to say, it's a cliche, but it is the first generation of a brand new technology. And I do think there's some crazy potential here for, I'm not sure exactly how it can be implemented, but if it's catching all of that information, what about in the future, you know, full 3D images with a single lens camera, because it's able to get that light direction and, you know, the contours around things. Maybe something like this is where that's going to come from. And the fact that, you know, it's been so heavily invested in by some big names makes me think people smarter than me can see a potential in it. The inventor of this was actually invited to Steve Jobs' home years back to give a personal demonstration of it when he was going through, you know, a fundraising venture capital type arrangement. So very cool. They are now available in Australia. Definitely go and check one out. As I said before, the screen is tiny, but looking at the device, you know, I'm surprised it even has a screen, to be honest, but to have something that small with such a small footprint, unless they put a screen on one of the sides, which would then make it all bigger, because all of this is being taken up by lens barrel. It's like a little, you know, one of the TV cameras with those huge zoom lenses in there. I don't know that there's much more they can do with it in terms of size, but in terms of resolution, I think it needs an improvement, because it really is, even for something that small, you can quite clearly see all the pixels. As I say, I do find it interesting. I did enjoy playing with it. I more enjoyed playing with it and then just refocusing it, but then I didn't really do anything with the images. That said, I'll pop a couple of links below where you can see the actual images that have been taken with this, and click on them to interact with it and see what you're able to do. Yeah, interesting little camera. If you've got one, or you've used one, or you've thought about one, or whatever, please leave any questions, comments, feedback. Love to read all of that stuff. Click the subscribe, and I'll see you soon for more photo news and reviews.